President Trump has issued a 2-week ultimatum to Iran, forcing a high-stakes decision to negotiate or face possible U.S. military intervention. The world is now watching this countdown, knowing it could end in either a diplomatic breakthrough or a dramatic escalation in the Middle East. Trump's move, a blend of threat and outreach, has turned a behind-the-scenes standoff into a global spectacle, with every action scrutinized for signs of war or peace. The backdrop to Trump's deadline is a complex tapestry of geopolitical tensions, woven with threads of historical grievances and present-day ambitions. This deadline, whatever its specific nature, doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's inextricably linked to a region simmering with conflict, where long-standing rivalries are now erupting into open hostility. At the heart of this turmoil is a rapidly intensifying conflict between Israel and Iran, a shadow war that has been fought for years through proxies and covert operations. Now, however, the gloves are off, and the conflict is spilling into the open, threatening to engulf the entire region. This dangerous escalation is now marked by direct military strikes, a departure from previous strategies of indirect engagement. The consequences of this shift are far-reaching and unpredictable. Israel, deeply concerned about Iran's nuclear ambitions, has targeted Iran's nuclear sites, facilities that Tehran insists are for peaceful purposes. These strikes represent a significant escalation, raising the stakes and increasing the risk of a full-blown war. In response, Iran retaliated with a missile strike on an Israeli hospital, a brazen act of aggression that crossed a red line and further inflamed tensions. The attack on a civilian target underscores the brutality of the conflict and the disregard for human life. This tit-for-tat exchange is escalating the conflict to new and dangerous levels, pushing the region closer to the brink of all-out war. The potential for miscalculation and unintended consequences is alarmingly high. This cycle of attack and counterattack is creating a perilous situation, with each strike prompting a more forceful response, leading to an ever-escalating spiral of violence. The international community watches with growing alarm as diplomats scramble to prevent a wider war, a conflict that could have devastating consequences for the entire world. Urgent meetings are being held, and frantic phone calls are being made in an attempt to de-escalate the situation. Adding another layer of complexity, Trump's tough, sometimes ambiguous rhetoric on Iran keeps the region on edge, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty and mistrust. His pronouncements are often interpreted differently by various actors, further complicating the already delicate situation. The entire region remains on edge, bracing for what might come next. The constant threat of escalation hangs heavy in the air, fueling anxiety and uncertainty. As both Israel and Iran brace for further escalation, the world holds its breath, hoping that cooler heads will prevail and a catastrophic war can be averted. The stakes are incredibly high, and the consequences of failure are unimaginable. The president's looming decision, whatever it may be, carries immense weight in this volatile environment. It is now inseparable from the volatile actions on the ground, and will undoubtedly shape the future of the conflict in the region as a whole. His choice will either pour fuel on the fire or offer a path towards de-escalation. Trump faces a stark choice: push for last-minute diplomacy or authorize U.S. military action against Iran. He's leveraging the threat of force to pressure Iran into talks, but has already reviewed plans for strikes on key nuclear sites. The risks of war are immense, but so is the potential for a diplomatic win. Trump's decision will hinge on Iran's willingness to negotiate within his deadline. The world waits, knowing the consequences will be profound. As the clock ticks, global diplomats are racing to prevent war. European leaders are meeting Iranian officials in Geneva, seeking a compromise to de-escalate the crisis. Quiet back-channel talks between U.S. and Iranian envoys offer a fragile hope for a deal. The challenge bridges the gap between U.S. demands for Iran to abandon its nuclear program and Iran's insistence on sovereignty. Amid mixed signals from Washington, mediators are working urgently to keep diplomacy alive before time runs out. At the heart of the crisis is Iran's nuclear program and conflicting assessments of its intent. U.S. intelligence maintains Iran isn't actively building a bomb, even as Trump's rhetoric suggests an imminent threat. Israel's strikes on nuclear sites reflect its own existential fears, while the U.S. weighs similar options. The debate over Iran's true ambitions is shaping the justification for possible war. Any U.S. military strike on Iran is not a decision to be taken lightly. It's a move fraught with peril, a step into the unknown with potentially devastating consequences. The complexities of the region, the intricate web of alliances and rivalries, all contribute to the immense risk involved. It risks igniting a regional war, a conflagration that could engulf the entire Middle East and draw in other global powers. The delicate balance of power in the region could be shattered, leading to widespread instability and suffering. The consequences of such a conflict are almost unimaginable. With Iran capable of retaliating in numerous ways, any attack would likely be met with a swift and forceful response. Their military capabilities, while perhaps not on par with the United States, are still significant and pose a serious threat to regional stability. They can retaliate through missiles, potentially targeting U.S. assets and allies in the region, and through their network of proxy forces which operate in various countries throughout the Middle East. These groups could launch attacks on U.S. interests, further escalating the conflict. The economic fallout from a military conflict with Iran could be global, sending shockwaves through international markets and impacting economies worldwide. We would see oil prices soaring to unprecedented levels, impacting consumers and businesses alike. The global economy, already fragile, could be pushed into recession, especially if the Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway for global oil shipments, is disrupted. Any disruption to this critical choke point would have a devastating impact on the world's energy supply. Trump's past hesitation to launch strikes against Iran, despite pressure from some within his administration, shows an awareness, at least to some degree, of these potentially catastrophic risks. He understood the gravity of the situation and the potential for unintended consequences. The brief pause in escalating tensions offers a last chance for diplomacy, a window of opportunity to find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. It's a chance to de-escalate the situation before the entire region is plunged into chaos and further instability. The alternative is a descent into a conflict with no clear end in sight. The president's ultimate decision will shape the security and economy of the world, impacting trade, alliances, and the overall geopolitical landscape. The stakes are incredibly high. For years, perhaps even decades to come. This decision will be remembered as a pivotal moment in history, with consequences that will resonate far beyond the immediate region. As Trump's deadline rapidly approaches, the pressure intensifies. The world holds its breath, aware that the decisions made in the coming hours could alter the course of history. The stakes are incredibly high, and the consequences of failure are almost unimaginable. Every tick of the clock amplifies the tension, a stark reminder of the limited time remaining to avert a potential catastrophe. The world waits in suspense, a collective gaze fixed on the unfolding drama. From capital cities to remote villages, people are glued to their screens, seeking any sign of progress or impending doom. International diplomats are working tirelessly behind the scenes, attempting to bridge the divide and find a peaceful resolution. The weight of the world rests on their shoulders as they navigate this treacherous landscape. Caught between the relentless momentum of military escalation, with forces mobilizing and tensions rising and desperate diplomatic efforts, a last-ditch attempt to find common ground and de-escalate the situation. The contrast between these two opposing forces highlights the precariousness of the moment. Fragile talks in Geneva, a beacon of hope amidst the gathering storm, and secret communications, clandestine channels working overtime to explore every possible avenue for peace, offer a glimmer of hope. These back-channel negotiations represent a crucial lifeline, a chance to break through the deadlock and find a path forward. But the risk of miscalculation, a single error in judgment or a misinterpreted signal, remains dangerously high, threatening to unravel all diplomatic efforts. Trump's unpredictable approach, threatening war with fiery rhetoric and aggressive posturing, while simultaneously offering talks, extending an olive branch even as he brandishes a sword, keeps everyone guessing, creating an atmosphere of profound uncertainty and making it difficult to assess his true intentions. The next days are critical, a pivotal moment that will determine the fate of the region and potentially the world. Will Iran concede, bowing to pressure and altering its course? Will the US and Israel hold back, exercising restraint and avoiding military action? Or will the deadline trigger a devastating conflict, unleashing a wave of violence and destruction across the region? The fate of the Middle East, a region already scarred by decades of conflict and instability, and global stability, the interconnected web of international relations and economic systems hangs precariously in the balance, a delicate equilibrium threatened by the looming deadline. For now, the world can only watch with bated breath and hope for peace, a collective yearning for a peaceful resolution to this escalating crisis.